Hello dear subscribers, you on the channel Gossip Says. We post videos every day for you, enjoy watching. Story 1. I was mugged and my boyfriend got scared and ran away. They did it. Tuesday night, boyfriend and I were out. He parked in an alley because it's free. As we got to the car, this tiny little homeless looking guy stepped out with a screwdriver and said something like, "All I need is a hit. Me $20 and no one gets hurt." Boyfriend sprinted away. He didn't even look behind him, so I was stuck with the mugger. And since I had my phone, only he rubbed his hands all over me while holding the screwdriver to my throat. He wasn't getting off on it, but it was still so traumatizing as he thought I was hiding money in my bra and underwear. I kept hoping that Aiden would be coming back with the cops, but nothing. The homeless guy eventually realized I had nothing and just left down the other end of the alley. I walked around the corner and less than a block away, there was 2 police officers, so I told them, and all of a sudden downtown lit up, and they were able to find the guy in less than 5 minutes. I rode with the police to the station to eye the guy. Maybe an hour later, Aiden calls and said, "I have the police, are you up?" I exploded on him, telling him that I'm at the fucking police station and have been for an hour. He tried to tell me he was so scared he didn't know what to do and ran immediately to the police. I told him he was a liar because the 2 police I'd found had been there all night and he must have run past them. After some serious arguing, he admitted that he'd gone to hide in a park about 3 blocks away. I was disgusted and kept hiding when he heard all the sirens because he thought that meant I'd been stabbed or worse. What in the actual? I told him to come pick me up, and he said he couldn't because he doesn't like cops and is afraid they'd laugh at him. Well, he was right, because 2 very cool young cops gave me a ride home, and they laughed and joked about him the entire way. Yesterday, he finally called around noon, and I told him don't bother, we're broken up. He then spent the next 8 hours texting me a combination of calling me names, begging me to come back to him, and explaining what he'd done had been the smartest thing for both of us. He said had he not run, his natural rage would have taken over, and he would have killed the guy. Suuri. My question is, how scorched earth do I go in this breakup? Let him have some dignity, or do I blow up his shit? Told her. Boyfriend left me during a mugging. Do I ruin his life in rude breakup process? Holy. Had no idea this would blow up. I'm in the lab all day, so I'm just catching up at lunch. I'll try and respond, I promise. Edit 2. Guys, I'm floored by this response. I have almost 1,700 unread messages in my inbox and feel like I missed out on the conversation when I was at my internship today. I honestly don't know what I am going to do. Haven't heard from Aiden since last night, so I hope that means he got the fucking message. I don't know what I'm going to do, as a day monitoring aluminum reactions has calmed me down a bit. Not sure, but this is my biggest Reddit post ever, by a long shot. So original blew up and my most popular Reddit post ever. First time I ever made the front page and was gilded in platinum 3* each. By the time I was able to really check and the post was removed, and I wasn't able to really participate. But thank you for your support and advice. If it can be seen, here's the link to the original. Well, that was Thursday, and I think I was still a little wound up and trying to find the humor in the situation. Friday it really settled in that I was sexually assaulted with a screwdriver held to my throat. I know that wasn't the mugger's intent, but the outcome was the same. I'd spent the last 2 days in my room just trying to figure out who I talked to. I haven't told anyone and even tried to go out last night, but was too afraid to walk to my car late, so I left really early, then walked with my keys between my fingers between my car and apartment, and haven't really left. Would love any advice on how to get on with getting past this. As for Aiden, he's left me about a dozen angry emails and VMs, blaming me for parking where he did, not running away like he did then and exposing him to the police. He's an incredible piece of shit, but since I don't want to talk about any of it, I haven't blown his shit up, as I asked in the original. Not sure what I'm going to do. I blocked him in every way I know, but just now, he created a fake Gmail to berate me again. I think everyone was right that he has some sort of police past, along with being an incredible coward, and he thinks I'm going to let them know where to find him. I talk with the ADA sometime this week, as well as victim advocate, and seeing as how this will truly blow his shit up. Maybe I'll slip his name along. So that's where we all are. Thanks for reading and keeping up with my drama. Story 2. My 21F boyfriend, 21M, is getting too comfortable. Me and my buff have been together for almost 3 years, and living together for almost 2. I'm at university and work as a manager, and he has a full-time job at around 30 to 40 hours a week. At the start, it was your stereotypical happy and progressive relationship. He'd give me flowers, make me coffee in the mornings, I'd cook his favorite meals if he had a bad day, and we would go on dates. Our friends used us as a template for the perfect relationship, since we knew how to communicate and anything that almost became a fight was resolved within the day. We were both on the exact same wavelength with everything. In the past year, it's become really difficult to have good communication. I've kept doing what we've always done, and brought up anything bothering me and how we can resolve it, but he started making empty promises. For example, my university semester started and I got a promotion at work. So I asked him if we could shuffle the house chores a bit since I was doing way more hours. He said, yeah, of course, and did the normal hug and kiss, but nothing changed. If I bring it up again, he just brushes it off as, yeah, I'll do it later. But he doesn't. I thought he might have been struggling with something that he didn't want to tell me about, so I gave him more leeway and just asked for a little bit of help here and there. So I would make dinner and just ask that he unloads the dishwasher afterwards. But he would do the same thing, agree but pretend I hadn't asked. The final straw for me was a couple days ago. We were getting a bunch of furniture moved to our house and my parents were helping us at 10 a.m. I told him of this and he said that's completely fine, but he's already agreed to go clubbing with our friends. I said it's fine as long as he helps me clear out the living room for the new furniture before he leaves. He says that his friends want to have a house party until 6, and I say we can't be out that late but we can stay out until 3. He says that's fine. I hadn't been on a night out in ages, so they invited me along. I just got a new dress and I was really excited to go out. I got my dress and makeup ready and told my boss that we had to start moving furniture now if it was gonna be ready in the morning. He said sure, give him a minute to finish a fight in his video game. I started moving things and Nadel really struggled with the heavy stuff, so I reminded him to help me move things. He tells me to wait. 2 hours go by with me struggling to lift couches and he jumps into the room, dressed up and ready to leave. He quickly tells me that he's ordered a taxi and is leaving soon. I ask what about moving the furniture, he just shrugs. I say that I can't go on a night out without moving this stuff first. He just brushes it off. I remind him to at least be back by 4 a.m. so that he won't be super hungover while helping in the morning. Long story short, I had to stay home and move the furniture so we would have room in the morning. He still went out without me. I was done by about 1 a.m. and woke up at about 7 and he still wasn't home. He answered and told me he was at the house party, but he'll be home soon. He got home exactly 10 minutes before my parents arrived. In short, he promised he would be home by 3 but came home at 10 a.m., made me stay home alone to sort the furniture, and when the furniture was finally in the house he refused to help me move any of it again. This happens constantly. If he promises to make dinner, I end up making myself a sandwich at midnight because he didn't do it. If he promises to wash our clothes, he only washes clothes that he is going to wear the next day. He promises to buy me flowers again, but it's been almost a year since he has. I brought this up to him yesterday night, saying that I didn't feel loved and felt used since I do everything. He again had the conversation saying he knows he's made mistakes, and he'll do anything to help me feel loved. I asked one thing, help me in the morning with chores. He promised. Guess what happened? I'd, of course, ended up doing all of them myself. I'm getting so fed up of mothering him and forgiving him continuously, and this is the first time in 3 years I've actually thought about leaving. I know that I won't because I really do love him and his family, but nothing I do can get through to him. TLVR refuses to do chores or anything romantic, and breaks his promises when I talk to him about it. I don't feel loved. I feel like I'm being taken advantage of because I do everything. Update. A lot has happened since this post. I took the words and advice of the comments and gave him an ultimatum. He needs to fix the problems in the original post or I'd leave. I sat him down and explained that he's treating me like his mother, not his partner. So I'd set up a bed in my office and sleep in a different room until he proved he didn't need me to take care of him at a whim. He was super shocked that I'd hit him with this out of nowhere, ignoring that I've been asking for help for months. I had to drag one of the spare beds up the stairs and set up the room, all while he was sitting refusing to help me. Fine, nothing I'm not used to. I realized once the office was set up how happy it made me to have my own space without needing to fix all of his problems, and he did not take that happiness well. I noticed him getting snarky and aggressive whenever he saw how much I was enjoying my holiday from catering to him, and just overall being weird but still not really doing his own stuff. He'd just leave mugs and plates to get moldy in his room, or leave stuff everywhere in the living room. I noticed that he started to nitpick everything I did, and it seemed like he was trying to find something, anything to make me feel bad about to make his faults less bad, I guess. He complained about my friend group on Discord because he didn't like that I had friends that weren't through him, even though I invited him to come on with us, introduced him, and he had a good time. He also complained that I wasn't giving him enough attention or helping enough. Yeah, welcome to my helpful pal. But everything he tried to fault me for was quickly shot down. Of course, I'm friends with them. They haven't done anything wrong, and I've invited you to join all the time. And of course, I'm not helping you. That's the point. Shit hit the fan after only 2 days of me staying in the office. My Discord group had decided to get drunk and play Cards Against Humanity. I highly recommend this too. And I told my partner this. He just said "oh," and so I went upstairs. Once I was already pretty tipsy, I got a message asking me to come downstairs. I told my Discord to pause the game and give me 5 minutes. When I went downstairs, he looked at me with the scariest face and said, "Do you want to tell me anything, huh?" Holding my old phone. In our entire relationship, I have never done anything to be disloyal or anything, so I had no clue what he meant. I asked, still giggling from the drink, "Tell you what?" I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said that he knew, and I should admit it to him now because he had evidence. I still had no clue, so I told him this, still stumbling a bit, and asked to see the evidence. He proceeds to go through my old phone's photos until he reaches over 4 years ago, well before we were dating too, and shows me a picture of my rapist. Not a naughty picture or anything, literally a selfie. He showed me this smugly and proceeded to tell me that I cheated on him with the guy who raped me before we were even together. Ladies and gentlemen, they say it's impossible to fall out of love instantly, but that's been proven false. I gave him one last chance to take it back and asked, "Are you jealous of him?" And he confirmed that yes, he wished he had done it first. In his defense, I genuinely think he worded this badly and didn't mean he wished he had sexted me. But holy hell, my drunk brain did not like that one. I don't even remember what I properly said, but I broke up with it on the spot. I explained I'm staying in the office until I find a flat, and he is not to talk to me at all. He realized that him trying to guilt me backfired and he started crying. I just went upstairs, put my headset on, and said, "Guess who's single?" Long story short, my Discord collectively decided to keep me on a video call constantly because they had a bad feeling about me still living in the same house, and God were they right. He left to stay with his mom, who's down the road, but decided to try to kick the door down at midnight. Why? Everyone in the Discord was flirting with me, mostly jokes, and this dude took my old phone and logged into everything to find more stuff to guilt me on. I had to phone my parents to pick me up because he had gotten in and was throwing shit around, accusing me of cheating again. I'm now staying with my parents until I find a flat, and I'm lucky to have my Discord friends because if they hadn't witnessed his freakout on camera, I don't think anyone would have believed me. Love you guys. TLDR. Told my boyfriend to stop making me mother him. He said I cheated because I was SA'd. I've now left lol. Story 3. My best friend from childhood invited me to her wedding, but forgot to assign me a seat. I spent the night alone in a separate room. My childhood best friend, 23F, got married this weekend, and I was so excited to be there to support her on her big day. I'm a chocolatier, so the bride asked me if I could create the wedding favors and dessert table. I was ecstatic to help with the wedding and went above and beyond to create a gorgeous table that was a huge hit on the day. I was told early on that the wedding was over budget and to keep costs low. My boyfriend was not invited. I was extremely understanding and even reduced my rates for the sweet table as my present to the couple. A couple weeks later, after reviewing the guest list, the bride informed me that my boyfriend could come as my +1. But if he did, I would be moved from the head table. My boyfriend is a wedding photographer and is looking to build his videography portfolio. Knowing that the couple didn't have a videographer, he offered to film a professional wedding video free of charge. The bride was ecstatic and offered to move us to the vendor table so that we could network with the other vendors. We loved the idea, and it was confirmed that we would be sitting with the vendors. The day of the wedding, we arrived 4 hours early to help with the event. My boyfriend spent the time filming while I set up the dessert table and helped the event coordinator set the dinner tables. After the ceremony, guests were moved to the cocktail room while the original room was converted into the room for the reception. While helping convert the room, I noticed that our names were not on the seating chart. I asked the event coordinator where we would be sitting, and she said good question and left to find out. She came back to say that there was no vendor table and that if we were staying for dinner, my boyfriend and I would have to sit in a separate room as we were not on the list. The room was closed off from the reception, so we couldn't hear or see anything, let alone talk to anybody. I told the event coordinator that we were in fact guests and that we should be moved into the reception room. The event coordinator herself was seated at one of the tables in the room. I told her I was a longtime friend of the bride and even originally meant to be seated at the head table. However, the event coordinator said she couldn't do anything about it. I approached the bride to explain the situation. She mentioned that it was definitely a mix-up and that we should be in the room. The bride mentioned that she didn't want to undermine me as a businesswoman, so she never told the event coordinators that we were friends or that I was a guest. She left the coordination of the vendor table to the event coordinator and left it off of the seating chart. The event coordinator was not made aware that any of the vendors, besides herself and the MC, were staying for the reception and therefore didn't think to add us in. Although I understand the mix-up, the bride did nothing to get us moved to the main room. My boyfriend and I were cut off from the reception with no one to speak to, no way to see or hear, and even had to ask to be fed. As a result, I missed the entire wedding and spent the majority of the evening crying in the bathroom, waiting to move the dessert table into the main room after dinner so that we could leave. My boyfriend continued to film everything as he was committed to getting a beautiful video for his portfolio. The next morning, I emailed the bride about the experience. She apologized profusely and said she was scatterbrained on the day and didn't think to do anything about it. She feels extremely guilty and would still like to be friends. I would like to forgive her, but I am still extremely hurt. Update. After reading everyone's responses and doing some reflecting, I've come to the conclusion that she's not my friend. Our relationship in the past few months has mostly consisted of her blowing me off and me interpreting it as though she was busy. She moved across the country 2 years ago, but flies here often. Most of the couple's friends and family still live here, which is why they decided to have their wedding here. Every time she's come to visit, we'd try to make plans, which would end with me being blown off. The excuse was always that some last-minute thing came up, which is why she didn't have time to see me. She called me months before her engagement party to let me know that I would be invited to it, but I was never actually invited. I responded to pictures of it online, just saying gorgeous, and she explained that I wasn't invited because her NIL planned it and didn't know her friends. Moral of the story: the only time I've seen her within the past year was to do a free tasting for her wedding after she mentioned that she would not finalize her order without a tasting. We had plans to meet up the same week of the tasting, which she blew. I reread her apologetic email and interpreted it differently the second time. The email mainly followed the structure of excuse, but that's not an excuse. In one section, she wrote that although she would still like to be friends, she understands that I may not want to, and that's fine. To me, it seemed as though she was saying she wouldn't care if we were to no longer be friends. At the end of the email, she added, "P.S. We would still like the video," despite making it a point prior to the wedding to let my boyfriend, and I know that she couldn't care less about the wedding video. Although she mentioned in her email that she would make it up to me, I haven't heard a word from her since I responded back to her email, naively accepting the apology the day after the wedding. I watched my boyfriend's rough edit of the wedding video this week and listened to her speech. She added a section where she thanked her friends for transcending the lines of friends and family. She called out a long list of names from the friend group. Mine wasn't included, which sealed the deal for me, especially since I was so involved in the preparation of the wedding that she wouldn't have just forgotten my name. Moving forward, I will be a lot more cautious with my circle, and I'll definitely be more strict with doing business with friends. No more paying out of pocket. Now my boyfriend has agreed to not go out of his way to send her the video. If she asks for it, he will send a link to a shortened version on his website. I couldn't convince him to add a watermark, although that was my favorite solution. Thanks everyone for your recommendations. So, we'll see if she comes around in a month or so. I will definitely not be reaching out.